Okay, so school is back. So am I. I'm here with another craft. So now that you've had some time, hopefully, to settle into your new education situation, whatever that might be, everyone's is different right now. We are going to make something that you can make at home or in the classroom with some materials that are usually just kind of hanging around. I've been focusing on fairy tales a little bit lately, and that is what we're going to do here in this craft. So I'm going to show you how to take a paper towel roll, the cardboard part that's left over, and a few other materials to create Rapunzel's tower. If you're ready to get started, so am I. Let's check it out. Okay, as we're getting started, I'm just going to show you all of the materials that we will be using. So most importantly, cardboard. So we have a cardboard base and a paper towel holder. All right, so that's the main part of what we're making. Then what we're also going to need, because we're going to be painting, you'll want to put something down, so newspaper, or if you have old brown paper bags or something, so we don't get anything on your work surface. And that brings us to paint. That's the part that can get messy. So I've got blue and yellow so that I can make green for the grass. If you have just green, you can do that too. You don't necessarily have to mix it. Then I also have white and black for the tower because I want to make that gray. So essentially we need gray paint and green paint, along with some paintbrushes. A little bit of water is good, but not too much because these materials are pretty absorbent. If we get them too wet, they get a little soggy. So it works a little bit differently than with paper, although that's true with paper too. Then we will also need a few different types of glue. So your basic Elmer's glue, along with some hot glue, so parents will need help with that part. Then construction paper. What I'm going to be using is red construction paper for the roof. Then you can decide if you want to use any other colors for other parts of this. I will also be using color pencil, and you can use those, or you can use marker, crayon, whatever you decide that you have to use. Other very important stuff, a pencil, basic pencil or mechanical pencil, whatever you have, and an eraser. Then you can use a thin marker or some sort of pen. Okay, now if you're ready, let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is cut down my paper towel roll. You can keep it the length it is if you want to, but that means that you're going to have to make Rapunzel's hair a bit longer. And the other issue is that when it's too tall, it might not be as stable, might not stay on here as well. So what I'm going to do is just not quite in half, but I want it to be a little taller than that. So I'm just going to cut off maybe about 2 inches or so. Okay. We no longer need that piece. So what we're going to do first is the painting. That way, when we're working on the other parts of it, this part can be drying. I need some paintbrushes. All right. Now I have a little bit of water here. You can't quite see it in the frame, but it's here. And if you don't have a palette, which I usually don't use, I use them for watercolor, but not this kind of paint for some reason. I usually just use a plastic plate or something like this. So for our tower, it's going to be gray, and I don't want it to be too dark. So I'm going to use mostly white in this. But the other reason that we'll use water is to spread the paint a little bit more. We just want a little bit of black, maybe not even that much. Kind of mix it around and see how that looks. Just gonna dab a little bit of water. And that up. So the trouble sometimes with mixing paint is that if you don't have enough paint for what you're using, you have to try to mix and get that same color again, and that can be pretty tricky. So hopefully I have made enough to cover this, and because I've made this before, I have a pretty good idea of how much I will need. So I'm going to go ahead and paint every side of this. I tend to get a little messy when I paint. Try not to fight it. I get messy no matter what. So I'm just gonna go with it. So my hand here is a little bit covered in paint, just to make this go a little bit faster and smoother. So, all right, whole thing is painted pretty fast, right? So what you wanna do, we're just gonna set this here right now, but we'll leave it standing up. And what you'll want to do is put that on a newspaper on a flat surface that's not going to, someone's not going to come by and knock it over. So put it out of the way somewhere where it's not going to get knocked over and it'll have a chance to dry. Next up, so you can either wash off your paintbrush, or if you're doing this kind of quickly, just go ahead and grab a new paintbrush and we'll wash both of those out later. You just don't want to leave your other paintbrush sitting for too long because it'll dry up and then you won't be able to use it again. All right, anytime you are mixing colors, you'll want to usually use more of the lighter color first. So yellow is my lighter color. If I use too much blue, that dark will overpower the lighter color and it'll turn into way more of a blue, and we definitely want a green. So it's good to start with just a little, and then if that's not enough, you can always add more. Water, and then I'll dab that on my paper towel. Oh, see, look how dark that already is. Which might be what you want. If you want dark green, then that's great. But if you want light, you want lighter yellow. You can also add white to that too, to lighten it up. All right, I'm just going to paint this across. Sometimes I like to make it look like it's a few different colors, especially with grass. You want it to look a little bit different. So if I have not mixed up enough, which it looks like I haven't, and I need to mix up more, in this case, I'm okay with it being a little bit of a different color. Or, let's see, I'm going to spread this out for as far as I can, and I actually might use a little bit of that kind of gray color that we made, since we're not using it anymore. Ah, check that out. Pretty fun. It is really fun mixing colors. You've got to be careful with that, because sometimes people get so excited and have so much fun mixing colors that you mix all your colors together and you end up with one color. And most of the time, that's not the color that you're wanting. So you can mix a lot, but just make sure you know what you're doing. Or that you have enough so that if you mess up, you have more that you can use. And I'm just going to add a little bit of water, so I can spread that out a little bit more. I really like that light. That green is my favorite color, so I like all the greens. Okay, so we'll put both of these aside in a place where they're not going to get knocked over. We'll have some time to dry while we work on the other bits. Right before we do, let's clean out our paintbrushes and maybe our paint palette too, if we're going to reuse that. Okay, so the next step here is to do some drawing. So first we'll just do the simple thing with this, and we want to just draw a big circle. And I have this paper towel holder, actually. Might use this one so we can see it a little bit better. So, you want to make sure that it is bigger substantially than this. So I'm going to draw a circle around there, or half circle. Okay, so we see that's a pretty good size. All the way around, it's about the same. Now we can set that aside, and I'm going to draw that with a pen so you can see that better. Now we're going to cut. Alright, then what I want you to do is cut right to the middle. Okay, like this, so that you are able to fold that over and make a conical shape. See, a little roof, and later we will glue that on. So just to give you an idea. Boop. Okay. Now the other thing that you can do, if you want to, you don't have to, is the side that doesn't have the pencil drawings on it. That's the side that we want to see eventually. And what I'm going to do is take a pencil color that's darker than this red. Actually, I think I like this one better. So that's kind of got a reddish tint to it. Or you can take a marker, whichever you like. And I'm going to do some tiles, some shingles. And I'm going to make them in a circular motion, so not like a flower. As you'll see how that looks when we're done. Okay, so it looks like this. And again, if you fold it over like that, you can see how cool that looks as a roof. Aha! Okay, now we're just going to set this aside. All right, so we have our full-size paper. You can use regular computer copy paper, or you can use a little bit thicker, like a cardstock, which is what I'm using here. What we'll want to do is take your paper towel holder, and this can be one that you already painted or a blank one if you have more, or the little cutoff. And what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of using this for measuring, so making this to the correct scale. So I'm going to draw this. And now, see, if I cover that up, you can't see it, which means that it fits well on here. Whereas, if I drew something like a window that's that big, that's probably a little bit too much for this size. So, I'm going to stick with this size. I'm going to draw 3 windows. I want them to be all around the same size. And the other thing I want to keep in mind is, if we're putting Rapunzel in one of these windows, which I plan to, we don't want her hair to be longer than the tower. So, let's say it goes down to here, so we don't want it to go past that point. All right. Now, I was drawing upside down. I'm going to spin this around so that I can see a little better. Now, normally, if I were doing all 3 windows and I wanted them to be the same, I would draw one shape, fold the paper over a couple times, and cut that shape out. But I want to make sure that we are drawing on here, doing all the drawing and coloring before we cut, because that makes it a lot easier. So let's go ahead and draw 2 more windows that are about that same size, and add a rectangular windowsill for each. And putting them close together makes it kind of easier because we are cutting these out. So doesn't matter how far apart they're spaced, but if they're closer together, it makes the cutting part easier. All right, I'm going to use this window since we already marked off where Rapunzel's hair is going to go to. So, let's see. Squeaky chair. All right, so I want to put an oval in here for her head, and we'll put that a little bit higher than the middle because we want to leave room here for her body. So these are actually her arms. I'm going to draw kind of a flat oval on either side for her hands, and we'll do a half circle shape. Thicken up her arms a little bit. Now 2 circles for the eyes, and I'm going to put the pupils up here, so a little half circle up at the top corner so that it looks as though she's looking up off to the stars. A little curved nose and a little smile as she's happy in what she's thinking about, even though she's not thrilled to be locked up in the tower here. Give her some eyelashes and eyebrows and some bangs. Now for the hair, since we are cutting this part, I'm not going to do anything really intricate with the hair. So I don't want a long, beautiful braid, even though that will look really cool. It's going to be pretty difficult to cut it out. And I know because I've tried already and it didn't go very well. So what I'm going to do is start a line over here and draw the hair down. Make it straight. And we'll curve over there. Now we don't need these lines because the hair overlaps the windowsill. There we have our Rapunzel. So next up, what I will be doing is outlining and coloring. So you get to choose what you want to do here. I am going to try to match the colors as far as the stone. So this windowsill, I'm going to make each windowsill gray because I want it to match my tower, which is gray, even though this is a darker gray. I like that because it'll stand out a little bit more against that light gray, but it still looks like stone, which is how I want the tower to look too. And in this part, I'm not being super careful about staying inside the lines because, again, we're cutting this. So if I go outside the lines, I can just cut those off. As long as we still know where the original lines are. Okay, next, for these 2 windows, because no one's in them, unless you want to put someone in there, there's no one in mine. And I want it to look as though Rapunzel doesn't have access to these rooms. They're just another part of the tower. So I'm going to make this background for each of these dark, as if lights are off, no one's in here. They're just some old windows. Next, I am choosing to make my Rapunzel purple. This purple is one of my other favorite colors. So I'm going to outline her skin in this lilac kind of color and face, nose, mouth, eyes, and then lightly color that so that my outlines show up a little bit heavier, but it's all the same color. Okay. Then some long purple hair and purple eyelashes and eyebrows. Blue eyes. Oh, no, I forgot. Her little purple lips. Then for the background, I'm going to give it a nice yellow. So in this case, the reason I'm doing yellow is because we want it to look like the background is lit. Either she's using candles or maybe she's using a modern day castle and she's got electricity. It also goes really nicely with the purple because yellow and purple are opposite on the color wheel, which means that they make each other stand out. Like If you have red next to pink, those colors don't look too different next to each other, but yellow and purple do because they are very different colors. So here I'm going to do a light blue top for Rapunzel, and this is similar to the color purple. So this kind of blends with her a little bit. That way it looks more all like she's one piece here, one whole person, and the background looks different. And I find it easier to cut in small areas. When you have a big piece of paper hanging off that you're trying to work around, that makes it really difficult. So it's good to cut these out a little bit smaller pieces of paper and then get the details. Now comes the gluing part. So we have our components, we have our tower, all dry, same with our base, our grassy land, the roof, 2 windows, and a 3rd window with Rapunzel. Now, we have a few different adhesive options. So we've got Elmer's glue, I've got Scotch tape, and if you have an adult help with this, we have hot glue also, which really works the best if we're trying to get this tower onto this base. So before we get to that part though, let's go ahead and glue down these pieces first. So actually with the roof, I'm going to use some tape. Alright, so first what I want to do, sometimes this is hard to do while on camera here, is figure out what size I want that roof to be. Do I want that to be a little bit further apart like that? Or do I want to close that in a little bit tighter and make it taller and more triangular, which I think is what I like to do. So, because this will come apart really easily, the best thing to do with this is to tape it first. So I'm putting a piece of tape right here on the inside, those 2 pieces. Then I'm going to do the same over here on the outside. So see, that comes apart really easily. I will say the only drawback is that it doesn't always look as nice. Okay, but I'm going to put that section in the back. All right, also we can see there's a little bit of an overlap here. So I'm just going to shave off that little piece so that all matches. So we've got a clean line all the way around now. Same right here. Okay, great. Now I've got my roof. Then what I'm gonna wanna do real quick, so I wanna put Rapunzel towards the top, of course. We need to make sure she doesn't overlap. She's not hiding under that roof. So I wanna make sure to put her down a little bit lower. And her hair is pretty long, so I might actually cut that a little bit short. Let's do that. So I'm just gonna clip off a little bit. You decide what works for you with your Rapunzel. Now, hot glue mess gets everywhere. So now I'm going to flip this over, and on the back I'm going to put just a little bit of glue. So usually it's good to get around the edges, but not to put too much because it squishes out the side anyway. Okay, so we're going to put Rapunzel towards the top, not too close to the top, because we want to see her. The paper that I use is kind of a harder, thicker paper. So if you have a thinner paper, this will glue down a little bit easier. But if you have like a thicker paper, it might pop up a little bit. Okay, so we got Rapunzel there. And then I'm just going to kind of turn the tower, put a window here, and then put a window here. And I have my finger inside the paper towel holder. I'm putting pressure on it from one side, pushing against my fingers on the inside of the paper towel roll with the fingers on the outside. So that's helping put pressure on there so it sticks better. All right, check it out. Pretty nice. Ta-da! All right, now comes the hot glue part. So we have to figure out how to get this on here. And the best thing to do is just to put some hot glue around the top of the paper towel holder. Okay. Ta-da! Pretty awesome. We're going to glue our tower to the base. So we'll do kind of the same thing and then we'll add a little bit of extra. So I'm going to put this on the one side because we want to leave this open. That way it's interactive. So once this is all together, you can take other figurines or you can add more people. You can draw your own people and add them on here. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you to make this how you like. So let's see, we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side of the roll. Ta-da! Okay, and then sometimes I like to add a little bit extra. Ta-da! You have created an awesome new piece of artwork, and it doubles as a toy. So you can add more to this if you like. I have a video on dioramas you can watch to get some ideas on what kind of background you can make. You can also make some more little figurines to match Rapunzel, the prince, the witch, whoever. Also some animals, so you can make those out of cardboard or paper. The other thing that you could do is take some toys that you already have and add them to your scene. So now you can play with these toys with Rapunzel, even if they don't match the scene. That's what makes it more fun. Use your imagination. How do they interact? So we'll be here next time to make some more crafts and some drawing videos. So please come back and join me. I hope you liked the video. If you did, just click the like button for me, and see you around.